Mr. Chairman, everyone is in from the waiting room.
All right, thank you. Good evening. I'd like to call the Board of Selectmen meeting to order on March 1st, 2020 at 6:04 p.m. And for the first item, we have public comment. So if you have any comments, please raise your hand in the video or use the hand raised function. All right. Hello, Toby.
Thank you. Toby Arsenian, 95 Granite Street. I see that warrant articles are on the agenda towards the end. I'm not sure what you intend discussing them. I know you've closed the warrant. I have two concerns. At the last DPW Commissioners meeting, I asked the commissioners about the study on sewage pumping capacity. That was authorized by a town meeting article, annual town meeting 2018, called for such a study to be reported to the next town meeting. That would have been fall 2018. And here we are only 3.5 years later. And finally, they say that they've got a study underway, a replacement of one that was done earlier that ended in muddle and confusion. And they say this study will be in hand before the upcoming town meeting. I find it hard to believe, but we can hope. And I wanted to know if they asked you for a place on the warrant to present that study. And if they've neglected to do so, I'm asking you to find a place on the warrant to present the study. 3.5 years late is better than never. And it's certainly timely because we will be asked to make decisions on zoning articles that will entail the creation of a great deal more housing. So we need to know about sewer capacity. The other thing on the warrant I'm concerned of is Carol Cook's petition article from the last annual town meeting. I offered a motion at that town meeting that created the Long Beach Options Committee, and the result of that motion being passed, the one I offered, was that Carol Cook's article never came forward for a vote. And the last sentence of the motion which I offered, which the town meeting endorsed, called on your board to bring Carol Cook's article back to the next annual town meeting so that she and her co-petitioners would have a chance to hear their article voted on. And I do not support Carol Cook's article. I think it's ill-advised and ill-written and almost certainly illegal. But I'm very much interested in fair play, and they got it onto a warrant, and they should have a chance to see it voted. So I'm asking you to add that article also to the warrant. And I hope that this is not the last chance for either of those items. Thank you.
Thank you, Toby. I will say that I was at the DPW meeting and I don't recall them promising anything coming in the town meeting. I think they said they tried, but didn't sound very promising on their behalf.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, my understanding from the DPW director and the assistant director from this morning, I'm not sure that there'll be something meaningful in less than a month on that. I could be wrong, but my last discussion with them this morning was that it's just not going to be ready in a month.
Yeah. Any other public comment? All right, seeing none, and we'll move on to item C, interview and appointment of full-time police officer Richard Santososa. I'm going to need help with that, but I'll turn it over to the police chief and town administrator.
Mr. Chair, Chief Horvath is here and will present to you this evening.
Good evening, everyone. It's Officer Richard Santososa, so not too bad. Selectman Brackett, pretty well done. I'm here to introduce one candidate for the position of full-time police officer, and that is Mr. Richard Santososa. He is a resident of Middleton and has been with our department since October of 2020 as a reserve police officer. Richard graduated Worcester State University in May of 2019 with a Bachelor's of Science degree in criminal justice. And he also graduated from the Reserve Police Officer Academy in January of 2020. Richard has previous experience as a beach ranger in Ipswich and had done a previous internship with the Middleton Fire Department. He has done very good work for our department over the last 2 years and understands the importance of community policing, which has been evident in his service to our town. He's eager to join our department in a full-time capacity and to answer your questions here this evening. So I turn over to the board, Mr. Richard Santososa.
Thank you, sir.
Why don't you tell us about yourself, Richard?
So I'll give a brief summary, kind of summarize most of what the Chief Horvath just recently said. My name is Richard Staniswasso. I come from Middleton, Massachusetts. I should be moving out to Gloucester soon, hopefully. And basically, I wanted to pursue a career in criminal justice for most of my life. And now at the point where I am now, I have gotten into the field and I look to further myself in that field. I have graduated with the Bachelor's of Science in Criminal Justice with a minor in psychology. And with that, I do hope to pursue, hopefully, becoming a therapist in the criminal justice field while also being a police officer. That way, I can kind of adhere to a niche group of first responders, as there's not any therapists in the field that specialize in first responders and helping them out through traumatic experiences. Most people know this job can be very traumatic, and I look to pursue a better way of community policing, gain a better knowledge in policing, and just it's something I've enjoyed so far, and I really look forward to doing it for basically the rest of my career.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Selectman Murphy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Richard, thank you for that thoughtful introduction. And I'm really taken back that you want to combine the two fields of therapy and community policing. I think that's impressive. How did you come upon wanting to go in that direction?
I guess it would all start essentially when I started the Reserve Academy. When I started Reserve Academy, the times were starting to change in policing around that era, and they're focusing more on mental health with a police officer, as many studies have shown that there are plenty of police officers that have PTSD from their past events. And the problem that we're facing nowadays is more so that we can offer these police officers the help they need to get, but at the end of the day, there's no one really in the field of therapy that can focus on first responders, as most of the therapists haven't had any experience in that field. Most of the experience that they have is just dealing with people who are first responders. So that kind of brought me to a light on that subject. And one of my biggest concerns about what I wanted to do in the future while growing up was I wanted to go into a job that helped people. And I always looked to policing as a good way to do that. And once I started up the job and I heard about that, I thought this could only better myself and better my career in the future and allow me more opportunities to help others.
Great. Well done. Thank you.
Any other questions? Selectwoman Wilkinson?
Sure. Welcome, Richard. Nice to see you again.
Thank you.
What an interesting path that you're looking to take. That's really cool. Wondering what your kind of favorite and most challenging thing you've found about working in Rockport has been so far.
So I'll start with my favorite. My favorite thing so far is that the community here is very nice. Everyone's very friendly, and it's easy to just talk to people. And like I said, one of my favorite things that I want to do in policing was just to help people. And in a way, I've always liked community policing, as it was very strictly enforced upon me. And on when I was at college, they talked about it a lot. And one of those great ways that I learned to community police was being a beach ranger. And that was just interacting with the community, just by having conversations with people in the area to really answer their questions and help inform them of like mostly the wildlife in the area, and informing them of why the dunes are important and why the birds are there. And I've also kind of brought that here into Rockport. And what I like is you can talk to people when they're out and about. Like recently, there was a group of bird watchers from New York that were here for a week in Rockport. And I talked to a few of them, and they were like looking at all the winter migratory birds. And so I got to have a nice conversation out of that. So that's one of the things I enjoy the most, just having a conversation with the people in the town.
Oh, awesome. You were at
Uh,
Cranes, right? Were you a beach ranger at Cranes? Yeah, the piping plovers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got to learn a lot about birds over there. It was kind of something I had to really focus on.
Cool.
And I also talked to the ecology team there a lot just to gain more information.
Yeah, awesome.
What was
And
your
then-
favorite bird?
Oh, what was my favorite bird?
I'm only
Can
kidding.
never. Oh, I was gonna answer if you want.
Like,
I mean,
you might
it's
as well, yeah, please give me, yeah.
Yeah, it's they're called like scooters, or they have a weird name, but they basically have like a really long bill. They're
Yeah.
mostly a winter migratory bird, and
Yeah.
they're just, they kind of look like it's like a Madagascar penguin, but with a long bill. So
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
I know Nathan Ives is on this call and I hope he's taking note.
Selectman Lilly, I saw you had your hand up.
Yes, yes, Richard, yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
Your plans for the future seem to be well laid out. I appreciate the depth to which you expressed yourself and your hopes for the future. I have a psych nurse as a wife, and I have 2 first responders in the family as well. So your interests are interests I either hear about a lot or think about a lot. So, and you present or represent young blood to the department, for which I have a strong support. So anyway, welcome, and I hope it all works out with you.
Thank you.
Great. Mr. Chair, would you like a motion?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you one question real quick.
Okay, great.
What's one weakness that you may have that you think you'll work on as your time in Rockport?
So believe it or not, growing up, I was very socially awkward in a sense. I still am a little, and I would say that was one of my biggest weaknesses. So I try to improve upon that every day. And one of the ways I do try to improve upon that is by just talking to people in the public. And that's a great way to community police. And it's number one, a great way to build social interaction skills and learn better ways to communicate with people in the public just through normal incidents. And it also helps for just gaining more information about the place and where I am. So that's one thing that I definitely have struggled with. And I say I definitely struggle with it from time to time, but I'm always looking to improve that. And that's what I want to do the most.
Well, there's no one watching tonight, so you don't have to worry about that. So I'll entertain a motion now.
Great. Good for you. What a great thoughtful answer.
Thank
Mr. Chair, I move that the Board of Selectmen appoint Richard Santososa as a full-time police officer effective March 2nd, 2022.
And the second,
Second,
any discussion? Roll call
That's-
vote.
That's tomorrow, FYI.
Roll call vote. Selectman Wilkinson,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
Selectman Lilia.
Aye.
And Selectman Brackett votes aye. Motion carries. Congratulations, Richard. I'm not gonna try your last name again, but maybe another day I will.
No worries. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Congratulations.
yes,
Thank
congratulations.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item D, which is a National Grid hearing for Atlantic Ave. And who do we have tonight, Mitch?
Mr. Chair, you have Elizabeth Cardarelli. So,
She go. There she is. Good evening, Elizabeth.
Hello, how are you?
Should we talk about it first? You want to?
if you could open the hearing, if you could
Do we have a
open.
motion to open the public hearing?
Yes. I would like to move that the Board of Selectmen open a public hearing on the petition of National Grid for the relocation of one JO pole and the appurtenances at 31 Atlantic Avenue.
And a second?
Second?
Roll call vote. Selectwoman Wilkinson,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy. Is he there? I don't think he's there. Selectman Loya.
Aye.
And Selectman Brackett votes aye. And the motion carries, and we are now in a public hearing. All right, Elizabeth, why don't you tell us a little bit about the,
Sorry to interrupt, Russ. I think you have to read the posting that was in the paper.
oh,
for the hearing.
Did I get that, Mitch? It's in the packet, right?
Is in the packet, yes.
All right. Town of Rockport Board of Selectmen public hearing Tuesday, March 1st, 2022. Zoom meeting link will be available on the posted meeting of the town website, rockport.gov, prior to the hearing to discuss the applications. No, that's the wrong one. You know what page it was on? I found it. Okay. Zoom meeting link will be available for the posted meeting sections of the town of Rockport website, rockport.gov. Prior to the hearing, petition of National Grid, 615 Atlantic Avenue, relocate one JO pole and all apparatuses at 31 Atlantic Ave. Donald J. Campbell Jr., Chairman, Gloucester Times, February 21st, 2022. All right, Elizabeth, now take it away.
Thank you for having me. My name is Elizabeth Cardarelli, representing National Grid. The request for the relocation of that one pole is for the reason that it is currently blocking a public pathway. Our poles at the end of a line need to have a guy wire on them, and currently that entire pathway, which is being cleared out for public pathway, is being blocked by all of the equipment that we would have to be putting in there. Another reason for the relocation is for the charging stations that have come through. One of the services for that charging station is going to be coming off of this pole. So we would like to move it out of the wooded area and keep it to an open area so that way the service can be run to the meter pedestal to feed those charging stations.
Alrighty. Any public comment on this? We have Duncan.
Ross, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Name and address for the record, please.
Duncan Reed, REID, 28 Atlantic Avenue, directly across from the phone pole in question. Just one question. I thought in the past they were going to have a stub pole to tie it to. Has that plan been abandoned?
May I respond?
Yep.
Yes, that design has changed.
And what type of clearing are they going to be doing for the footpath?
The footpath is Rockport owned. I would not have any information for that. Our pole would be being set outside of the wooded area in what would be considered a sidewalk. So I do not have any information from forestry or DPW clearing in that location.
Okay, so Ross and Board of Selectmen, I just have two simple requests. One would be when you move the pole, hopefully please keep the light that's in there. Do not put in one of those high intensity blue, white industrial lights. It's nice to keep, the light that's there is okay. The second request comes from a neighbor of mine as well, and then from me too, is we'd ask that you put a visor on that light so that you can light the street in the area you want to light, but you don't have light go into the homes affected by the pole. So those would be the two key requests that I would make as you relocate the pole.
All right. Thank you, Duncan.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments, questions? Toby?
Thank you. Toby Arsenian, 95 Granite Street. It was mentioned that the pole would provide connections to the metering for the electric vehicles. And are we being compensated for the electricity on that or not?
We are only talking about moving the pole, Toby, tonight. It has nothing to do with the EV stations.
I would like to say that I sympathize entirely with Mr. Reed's concerns about lights and the town of Rockport being one of the chief offenders when it comes to lights. You should all try and do better, starting here with something small.
All right, thank you. Again, we're just moving the pole. We're not talking about the lighting on the pole right now. Any other comments about moving the pole? If there's no more, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Selectmen close the public hearing.
And a second,
Second.
further discussion? Roll call vote, Selectwoman Wilkinson,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
Selectman Loya,
Aye.
and Selectman Brackett votes aye. And now the public hearing's closed, and take it over. The board have any questions or further discussion? If not, I'll entertain the motion to approve the moving of the hearing, the National Grid Plan as presented.
I'm happy to make the motion. Mr. Chair, I move that the Board of Selectmen approve National Grid's petition for the relocation of one JO pole and all appurtenances at 31 Atlantic Avenue as shown on the National Grid Plan number 30381232 dated October 25th, 2021.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call vote. Selectwoman Wilkinson,
Just one comment. Can we make sure that Mr. Reed's comments get passed along, or maybe Elizabeth can do that? Great, thank you. Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
Selectman Loya,
Aye.
and Selectman Brackett votes aye. Motion carries. Mitch, just a quick question on that. These polls part of the Green Community Task Force lighting, do you know, the new LED lights? Because those would certainly, be a lot less.
So I'm not sure, but I know that's a bit a ways away.
Yeah, I know. I was just wondering.
I'm not positive if that's one of the affected ones.
All right. Next item on the agenda is entertainment licenses, renewal hearings, and I'm going to, should I read that first or do the motion? Sorry,
So, Mr. Chair, we're teetering very close to when we should be starting based on the posting. Could I recommend to you and the board that you take item F first and then go back to the two public hearings so we can make sure that we're in our correct timeline?
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll move to F, appointment interview of Ruth George to the DPW Facility Building Committee.
Mr. Chairman, would you like a motion first?
I'm sure I'll take the motion then.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Selectmen appoint Ruth George as a member of the DPW Facilities Building Committee for a term to expire on June 30th, 2022.
Second that.
All right, and then is Ruth here to speak? There she is. Good evening, Ruth. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Hey, Ruth.
Hi,
Hi, Ruth.
hello, everyone.
Tell us why you wanted to come back to this wonderful project.
Well, I was asked, I didn't jump out to do it, but I would have if I had known there was an opening. It's a great committee. I love being on it from the beginning. I was sorry to have to get off of it. It's very important. It's a absolute necessity for the town. And anything I can do to help move it forward and carry the ball forward and get this done, I'm willing to do. It's a wonderful, wonderful project and it needs to get to the finish line.
Bruce, would you like to say anything?
No, well, yes. Whoop. Okay. I'm just so happy to have Ruth come back on the committee. And I did reach out to her. She was the first and only person I thought of to be on this committee. So yeah, just looking forward to working with her again.
I mean, I think you have a full year under your belt, Ruth, on that committee, right? Or were you on it before?
I was on it before from the beginning.
Oh, so you got all the details, so.
Yeah, I was on it. I only missed my year since being off Board of Selectmen when Dawn was on it. So I was on it since it was originated. And I was the chairperson.
Any comments from the board?
Yes, very, very quickly. Thank you, Ruth, and thank you. We're probably going to have to keep an eye on Bruce Reed during the meeting, so that'll be a good thing. But no questions, but just gratitude and thank you for stepping up and everything that you do for the town. It's greatly appreciated. So I can't think of a more qualified person to be on this committee than you. So thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Any other members?
Just thank you. We should vote before she changes her mind, because I know that Bruce and Monica are probably like, just vote, get her back.
And I'm sure you've been following it, right, Ruth? So you're coming in at a tough time.
I have. I listened to the last few meetings and there's a meeting tomorrow. So hopefully I'll be a real member tomorrow.
We all appreciate you jumping in the ring with Bruce. I'll do
Thank
a
you.
roll call vote. Selectman Wilkinson,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
Selectman Loya,
Aye.
and Selectman Brackett votes aye. Congratulations, Ruth. You're
Thank
back
you.
on.
Thank you.
Ross, really briefly,
Yep.
I don't know if Ruth is staying for the whole meeting, but we know how much Ruth does in terms of all the COVID stuff in town, with the vaccine clinics, everything. Wanted to thank her. She and I gave out the free COVID tests at the school last week, and we gave out over 300 kits, which ended up being like over 600 tests. So
Wow.
thanks again for that. I know that everyone at the school was like super, super appreciative for the test. So thanks, Ruth.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome. Glad to help.
And it was fun.
Yeah, it was. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Alrighty, we'll go back to item E, entertainment licenses renewal. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Yes, I make a motion. I move that the Board of Selectmen open the public hearing on 2 applications for entertainment licenses at the Yankee Clipper Inn and My Place by the Sea to allow for outdoor music on premises and outdoor public address system.
I'll second that.
And I'll do a roll call vote. Selectwoman Wilkinson,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
Selectman Loya,
Aye.
and Selectman Brackett. And I'll read the posting. Tuesday, March 1st, 2022, Zoom meeting link will be available on the posted meeting section of the Town of Rockport website, rockport.gov, prior to the hearing to discuss the applications for an entertainment license for outdoor music on premise for Yankee Clipper Inn at 625 at 127 Granite Street, at 630 My Place by the Sea, 68 Bearskin Neck, Board of Selectmen, Donald J. Campbell, Chairman, Gloucester Times, February 21st, 2022. All right, do we have anyone here for My Place, Mitch?
Mr.
start
Chair,
with
we
that.
have, I know Kathy and Barb unable to make it. They told Debbie that yesterday. I'm not sure if anybody else is here for My Place. I know for Yankee Clipper, we have General Manager Mike Barnhart here for them.
All right, we'll start with the Yankee Clipper.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mike.
Mike.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here to apply for a entertainment license renewal. This is the beginning of my 11th season here at the property. Who would have known? It would have been that long, but I feel comfortable with the area, feel comfortable with the people, and would like to receive a renewal.
Great.
Any public comment on Yankee Clipper Inn?
Would you like a motion, Mr. Chairman?
No, we'll do the motions outside of the hearing.
Oh, that's right. Of course. I'm sorry.
Any questions from the board?
Oh, nice to see you, Mike. And it looks like you're looking to do the same thing as in the past.
Yes.
Yep.
It's worked well in the past. There's no reason to change anything.
Yep. And I know that any issues you've had with neighbors, you've been really open about them, just communicating with you and working things out. And that seems to have worked well.
Yes. Yes, I live here on the property, so obviously I'm part of the group of the neighborhood. So
Yep.
I think that helps when you're able to get out and talk to your neighbors as well.
Yeah. You're a great example of a commercial business working within a residential area successfully. So thanks for all of your efforts.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll move on to My Place, which was just a minor fix to, categorize the application with just the Wednesdays that they do hump day. And if we
That's
have no
correct,
one-
Mr. Chair. In this case, it is just to adjust it down from, or to the correct Wednesdays only. The applicants did amend their submission, and it is, tonight is bringing it into what the intended request was, Wednesdays only.
And I'll take any public comment on that? So we have Eric's iPod. Name and address for the record.
Hi, Crystal Lavielle, 64 Bearskin Neck. The only other thing I figured I'd just ask is it going to be the same dates as you approved for last year for like the range that they can do it as well?
I think those are standard for us in the first place. Is that correct, Mitch?
I believe My Place, it is for the summer, yes, June through August.
Okay, that was my only question. Thank you.
If there's no more comments for that, I'll take you outside of public hearing, Herm.
Okay.
Because they can't answer, they're not here. So if there's no more comment, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. Chair, I move that the Board of Selectmen close the public hearings.
I'll second that.
And a roll call vote, Selectwoman Wilkinson,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
Selectman Lilia,
Aye.
Selectman Brackett votes aye, and the public hearing is closed. And we'll have discussion amongst the board. Selectman Lilia, what do you have to say?
It's a curiosity, something I should have noted before on the number. I know it was proposed for capacity on premises is 130. Sounds high. I don't know quite why they would put a number in of 130.
I think that has to do with their entire footprint of their building, including inside. I don't think that has to do with the outside, and that's set by the fire chief usually.
So that setting allows for 130 people. That's my curiosity, I guess.
Yeah, that you'd have to take that with the fire chief. I wouldn't.
Okay.
I mean, my building has, I think I have the same amount in my building.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Is that correct, Mitch? Does that include the entire footprint of their?
That's my understanding, is that it addresses all of it.
Any other discussion amongst the board? I'll have a motion to approve My Place by the Sea first.
Sure. Mr. Chair, I move that the Board of Selectmen revise the February 15th, 2022 My Place by the Seas entertainment license approval to allow outdoor music on premises and an outdoor public address system on Wednesdays only for the summer season, beginning on June 1st, 2022 to August 24th, 2022, and to provide a 2 weeks written notice to abutters in the Board of Selectmen's office prior to the first event.
Any discussion?
Oh.
And second?
Second.
I will say that because they're not here, I will be in favor of the notice to the abutters and the Board of Selectmen. So roll call vote, Selectwoman Wilkinson,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
Selectman Lilia,
Aye.
and Selectman Brackett votes aye. Motion carries. And then next up is Yankee Clipper Inn.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the Yankee Clipper Inn's application for an entertainment license to allow outdoor music on the premises and an outdoor public address system till 9 p.m., subject to any requirements from the Board of Health or its inspector, to expire on December 31st, 2022.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? Roll call vote, Selectwoman Wilkinson,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
Selectman Lilia,
Second. Yes. Aye.
and Selectman Brackett votes aye. Motion carries. Congratulations, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike.
I
you have a
appreciate your
good
vote of
season.
confidence. I hope so. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, next up, we're gonna have the board committee commissions update, and we're gonna have the EDC, and I think I see Christina there from the EDC. If you want to take about 10 minutes, Christina, let us know what you'd like to talk about.
Hi, everyone. Am I unmuted?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you for having us on. My name is Christina from 24 Rear King Street, Christina Wilcox, and I'm here to represent the Economic Development Committee along with Maria DeStefano. She's on the meeting as well. And we also have another member who's not able to be here, Jonathan Gove. And we've only had a couple of brief meetings so far, but one of the issues that we want to address right off the bat is an issue that we think has a direct impact on the future weeks in Rockport, and that would be outdoor dining. So if it'd be okay, I would like to share my screen.
All right.
I can show you what we've been working on. 1 second, here we go. All right, that's a document that the Economic Development Committee discussed in our last meeting. It was originally put together by Michelle Brown in order to help us understand the past history of the outdoor dining in Rockport and a reminder of what the reopening committee had worked on. I was a part of that reopening committee, as well as Sarah Wilkinson and many others. So basically, in our opinion and based on our discussions, we feel that outdoor dining in Rockport now has a different objective than it did when it was first offered in 2020 and 2021 during the pandemic. And that's because we believe that at that time, our concern in town was for restaurants and giving them a chance to be open instead of having to be closed based on indoor dining limitations for safety reasons and things like that. Now, however, we find, those of us that spend a lot of time downtown are seeing a shortage of seats for people who wish to stay in Rockport and dine. And we feel that if we can help restaurants legally extend the outdoor dining season, then that helps all of us, because it means that our residents and our visitors alike will be able to enjoy dining in Rockport and stay with us longer, shopping, maybe staying for the weekend or whatever. So that is our recommendation, basically, is that we continue the outdoor dining. Michelle Brown has reached out to restaurants to see who is interested in doing this again. And they are listed here: Two Little Birds, Feather and Wedge, Red Skiff, Hula Moon, as well as restaurants who perhaps are going to be talking to you, the board, about other options. And then, of course, we have a new restaurant coming, Fleur Cuisine. Not sure, what their intentions are, so we may be hearing from them. And then also Seventh Wave, even though I know that that's a little bit of a unique situation. After looking into it, it is our understanding that according to the state, you, the board, can approve outdoor dining the same way that you did in the last 2 years. And that is allowable until April 1st. It seems as if the legislators are in the process of extending the outdoor dining law, and they fully expect that those laws will be in place before that April 1st deadline. Therefore, the EDC feels that you, the board, can approve the same process as last year. So we've outlined here our recommendations about how this is, how this could happen. Obviously, spring is right around the corner. It might not feel like it today, but it is. And last year, I believe outdoor dining opened in April. So we need to get going on getting restaurants approved. And this outline is how we suggest it be done, which is just like it was done last year. We recommend that the board use the same condensed application process for restaurants that are not changing their floor plan and setup. We suggest that the board requests that restaurants submit their applications by next Wednesday, as long as it seems possible that the restaurants receive notification about the updated outdoor dining policies by this Friday. And if all that is able to happen, then you, the board, can vote on the restaurant applications at your next meeting. Of course, that would be pending on the state's approval at that point, if they are able to get the laws in place before that April 1st deadline. We also discussed, there's been some talk about whether the town should charge restaurants for the parking spaces that they're taking up. And we did deliberate on this for quite some time. And it is our recommendation that the town does not charge restaurants for the parking spaces. I think that our general attitude about this, and you're welcome to disagree, is that these restaurants are, in a sense, doing us a favor by working hard to staff these outdoor dining areas. And that me, as a downtown business owner, I'm grateful for the restaurants that are able to pull that off. I don't want it to be something that we're kind of nickel and diming them for in terms of covering for the parking fee or the lost revenue from a parking space. We do have the additional meals tax revenue that will come from those additional seats and tables. We also checked into the surrounding communities, Gloucester, Beverly, Salem, Lynn, and Boston. None of these communities charge their restaurants for parking spaces. So we'd be the different ones. It seems to be the trend that they are not charging for the outdoor dining parking spots. However, in light of that, we do feel that perhaps a more strict or stringent regulation could be put in place. We discussed a new concept, which would be a rolling installation of the outdoor dining areas instead of one April opening date, which was done in the past. Some restaurants are not able yet to fully staff outdoor dining in April. Therefore, we feel that they shouldn't be given the responsibility of staffing an outdoor space. Let's keep the parking spaces for longer and designate those areas for outdoor parking when the restaurant can commit to keeping it open, staffed, and seated at least 4 days per week for the months of April, May, June. And then in July and August, they would be committing to being able to staff that area 5 days per week or seat diners in that area 5 days per week. And then in September, it would go back to 4 days a week through the end of the dining season, which is in December. That's what the permit was for. That's what we recommend in order to give them the gift of being able to have tables in this outdoor area. They would be able to request a start date of their own based on when they can commit to 4 days per week, or if they'd rather wait till July and have 5 days per week. I'd love to hear what the board thinks of that idea. We think that that might help some of the restaurants participate in outdoor dining. And it also gives us a chance to express our intent that they be required to be open and have that area open for diners to sit on a minimum of 4 or 5 days a week, depending on the season. Obviously, sometimes we have weather issues, extreme heat and rain. Aside from that, I would like the board to request that the restaurants be required to be open that minimum number of days a week, or the board would send them a warning, at which time they would have 48 hours to return to compliance, or the board could withdraw the restaurant's outdoor dining permit. I believe in the past, they were given as many as, I think, 14 days. We feel that that is too many. If something's come up and you have issues and you're closed a couple of days a week, obviously we all want to have grace for these things, but if it is a continual problem that they're not able to staff it or to have it be open, then we need to address that quickly, in my opinion, in order to encourage restaurants to use those spaces instead of them sitting empty when we could be using it for parking. So those are our main recommendations. We also had a couple of questions for the board. Last year, there was grant money that had been made available to use to beautify the barriers. The garden club got involved with planting the planters that went over the barriers. The barriers are painted. Are we going to be able to use the same barriers that were previously painted? Can we use the planters? Is there still dirt left to fill the planters? How can we fill them with flowers? Again, that kind of discussion. And then also in years past, there was a liaison working with the town and the restaurants. There's a lot of coordination that needs to happen between the DPW being able to set up the barriers on this proposed schedule, the permitting with the town, the approvals, and the police inspection and things like that. So we can't do this by ourselves. We need your help. And so we're looking for input from you, and feedback based on our recommendations. Thank you for the opportunity to present this.
Thank you. I don't think you have to worry about doing it by yourself. Everything will be coming from our offices in the end. Anyways, we're just looking for recommendations. And it was my understanding that this was just a rough draft. Is that correct? That
Yes.
you do plan on getting a more finalized document to us?
I think this summarizes our discussion from our last meeting.
Okay. I mean, I don't think we're going to be acting on it tonight or in the relative future, but I know we're itching to get going on it too. I'm going to let Sarah speak as she was on the reopening and kind of see what came out of our offices last year for a plan that we went over.
Oh, hi. Hi, good evening. Hi, Christina. Hi, Maria. So I'm so sorry, Christina, for some reason, no one has told me when the EDC meetings are. So Ross, I was away for school vacation, Ross texted me like, hey, did you know there was EDC? And I was like, no, I had no idea. Sorry. So I feel bad because if I had known, I totally could have come and probably could have saved you guys a lot of work over the outdoor dining stuff. So maybe Ross, because I don't think Ross is being notified as well. So maybe we can get in a rhythm where you guys let us know when they're scheduled for, which would be really helpful.
Yeah, it's the same meeting schedule that we decided on in our first meeting. It's the first and third Wednesdays at 4 p.m.
Okay, I thought it got,
And it's
okay, it got moved, somehow it got moved because okay. So if you could just email us what it is, that would be really helpful because obviously like we want to be there. And I think our office, we implemented outdoor dining the last 2 years. And I think that we can be obviously really helpful in doing it. So I think that I had Debbie, we didn't get this document in advance of our meeting. So I had Debbie kind of pull what we did the last 2 years, which I think worked really well. It was a kind of a quick, it's our kind of version of the quickest way to do an application, which is what we sent to all restaurant owners. I think that the restaurants that weren't, obviously the board can discuss the restaurants that weren't given the opportunity of outdoor dining, but each one was kind of for a specific reason that I'm happy to go over if we get into that detail. I too, as we discussed in reopening, would like to get the board to implement outdoor dining as soon as possible. As I know a couple of the restaurants are itching to do so. And then Ross, I don't know if you want to go down the, kind of the detail of how we did things last year or why we did things a certain way.
Well, I think if Christine's happy with that document, she can send it to us, and then I know maybe another meeting, the board can, kind of combine the two and see, pick out.
Yeah, I honestly, I think if we want to make it happen, we can, put it on our next, it's not on the agenda tonight to vote on outdoor dining. So it would have to go on our next agenda, but, and I'm happy to work on that document as well. But
So
I know
Christina,
that there are things our board has to decide, but.
Yeah. And I'm seeing Lenny, I know we have to see what the DPW schedule is as well. Let Lenny.
Yeah, we have
Lenny.
some significant internal discussion to have with Public Works, Police, Fire, and Board of Health to make sure everybody's on the same page before
Yeah.
anything gets approved.
Yeah, I think last year we worked out a schedule. Mitch, the police chief, and I did a walkthrough of downtown, and then with the DPW, we kind of gave restaurants 3 options, which we gave them 3 deadlines to submit their applications by, and then according to when they did them, the DPW was kind enough to kind of do. I think it ended up being 2 installation days. It might have been 3, but it couldn't be rolling like when restaurants feel like it, because it's literally kind of takes over downtown. But I think we were able to do 3 different dates so that if people didn't have their act together, or they could, schedule it for later.
One
Well,
of my major
It's
questions
only 3
was,
restaurants that we're talking about, and I don't think all of them will be ready for April. So it shouldn't be like a whole, production, like with the whole, all the restaurants in town participating anyway. So that might help.
Yeah, and it's actually not Dock Square. So
Right.
it's not like the main Dock Square one. So that should be.
Exactly.
So my guess, if we came up with, honestly, if we came up with like 2 dates, that might be helpful for them. And frankly, our office could also reach out to the restaurants and be in touch with them to see, what dates they're looking at. Because honestly, like all of this is about supporting businesses and making it successful for them. And, so obviously getting their input on that would be really helpful, I think.
were you able to figure out because I'm still having a tough time on the whole charging and not charging. Did you ever have a number on what we lose per parking spot when we have the outdoor dining? On parking?
The revenue loss for all of the parking spaces that were taken up last year was approximately $20,000.
And
Yes.
how many total spaces, Mitch? Approximately.
10 or 12. Off the
Okay.
top of my head, I'd have to count again, but 10.
Yeah,
or
no,
12.
no, no, I want to get an idea. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think,
Blue Lobster.
yeah, Blue Lot, and I think each were, I think it was around 2 each. Which, we had gone and kind of measured out. Unfortunately, I think during the pandemic, we were under a state of emergency, and you explained, that kind of the focus and goal is a little bit different this year. Unfortunately, from a kind of municipal government perspective, I don't think when we're not under a state of emergency, we can kind of get away with not charging, if we're giving a benefit to some businesses and not all, I don't think we can get away with giving that benefit for free. As much as I would love to, I think I'll be totally transparent. And as soon as we started the outdoor dining, we got notified by some businesses on Bearskin Neck, non-food establishments, that wanted the town to give every business the same amount of public square footage to use. And obviously we're not in that position, but it gets really uncomfortable when you're kind of picking and choosing who gets a benefit. So I think we might have to, my perspective is I think we might have to come up with some kind of really, really nominal fee to charge, because, $20,000 is a lot and zero's not a lot. So I think we can deal with that.
And were you able to find where they said that you can allow liquor? Because I still haven't seen that yet, unless it's coming from the state. I haven't heard anything other than seeing that under Boston's own guidelines. I haven't seen it from the state level, though.
We've not gotten any, Debbie as the liquor licensing agent has not gotten any notice that they've extended that portion at the moment. They are working on it, as Christina said.
So that's pending?
It is pending still, correct.
Yeah, I think that might be part of that April 1st thing that they're working on. If Peter Weber's on the call, I believe he might know more about that as well, if you wanted to unmute him to get clarification on that.
I don't know. We're looking into it, so it's all right. No offense, Peter. I just don't want to stall anymore. Everybody, yeah. So I think that pretty much covers it. So Christina, if you want to send us the document to the board, we'll all get a chance to look over it, and we can get the other one from Debbie so we can mix and match and hopefully get on the next agenda. I'll let Dawn know that that's what we're looking at to do.
Okay, thanks.
I mean, I think we can move ahead quickly, kind of with the assumption that the state is, and honestly, if worse comes to worse, people will just have to make the decision on liquor, right? That's the state portion is just based on liquor, Mitch.
That's correct.
So, if worse came to worse, the selectmen could still approve the space. There just may be a gap with if they can serve liquor there or not. But
right, that's why we said pending state approval. But I believe Peter has talked to Senator Tarr about it, and Senator Tarr feels pretty confident that it's going to go through. But you could make your recommendation pending legislative approval. That's my understanding.
Yeah.
Any other questions from Selectman Lilia or Selectman Murphy?
Nope. Thank you.
I don't have any questions, but I am supportive. I mean, I do think that the town benefits, and I'm not particularly concerned about other establishments that non-restaurant establishments that might be bidding for extra space provided by the town. There are many cities and towns around the world that have this kind of a setup outside, which I think works to the benefit of the town as far as the enjoyment of the people who come, and the people come for the enjoyment. So I'm supportive. We'll talk about it in a couple of weeks and go from there.
Thank you, Christina. I'll see you at your next meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, guys.
All right, next on the agenda is consent agenda, which is approval of minutes, if any, appointment of per diem civilian dispatcher, and approval of home occupation permit Sandpiper Studio. Do I have a motion, or anyone want to hold any items?
Sure. I can do that. Mr. Chairman, I move that the board approve all non-held items on the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote. Selectwoman Wilkinson,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
Selectman Loya,
Aye.
and Selectman Brackett votes aye. Motion carries. Next up is item H, action list. We'll start with the closure of T Wharf for motif number 1 day race on May 21st, 2022. Do we have anyone to speak about the race, Mitch? Or are we just kind of?
Mr. Chair, I believe Darlene Trumbore is here.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Good evening, Darlene. Yep, we can hear you.
Yes. So, yeah, so the motif number 1 day race is scheduled for May 21st, Saturday. And so we would be doing the same thing that we've done for the past 10 years, is needing T Wharf to be blocked off for the start and finish of the race.
All right. And it's identical plans, all identical, Mitch, too?
My understanding is there is not an issue, and it would of course be subject to any restrictions that the police impose for traffic control.
Awesome. Do I have a motion on the closure of T Wharf?
You do, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the use of a portion of T Wharf from 8:30 a.m. to 9:45 a.m. on motif number 1 day 5K race on May 21st, 2022.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I used to run that, but now I think I'm going to be walking it.
I got a dolly at the restaurant. If you want me to put you on the dolly, and I can push you along there.
That
Oh,
would be
that
good.
was sad. That was sad.
That'd be a good scene.
I used to run it with my kids. Now my kids lap me. If that makes you feel any better.
Yeah. Well, at least you're running it.
No, Paul, I don't, we'll see. We'll see. We have a couple months, right? When is it? What, May?
May 21st.
21st. Hi, Darlene. Nice to hear you.
You too, Sarah.
But awesome. And honestly, I think I say this every year, but Darlene and Aaron Kniff and their team are like taking a generation of kids in the Rockport Public Schools and making them more fit and healthy, which is super cool that like in the next probably week or so, they're going to have the run club going and totally free, just getting, Rockport Public School kids running in the outdoors before school. Does not get much better than that.
And Finn Wilkinson is going to be our second joggler. He's now juggling and running at the same time. So he's practicing. Yes, you know that about your son?
I didn't know that, but wow.
Do it.
Wow. Okay. I've seen the juggling stuff. in the living room. So.
Yep.
I have to say I concur with Selectman Wilkinson and their assessment of what has transpired. My 3 kids, 2 of them are in college and one is a junior in high school. It was the benefit of having Aaron Kniff, that great health program, Darlene Trumbore, and the list goes on and on. So these kids are still doing athletics, and the love of athletics and feeling fit is started at an early age, and it's continuing. So thank you to all of you.
Thanks, Paul.
All right, roll call vote. Selectwoman Wilkinson.
Aye.
Selectman Murphy.
Aye.
Selectman Loya.
Aye.
And Selectman Brackett votes aye. Motion carries. Next up is approval of FY23 compensation and classification schedules, and I think Town Administrator Mitch will take that.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So based on the budget that the Board of Selectmen approved and transmitted to Finance Committee, and the budget that Finance Committee has approved and prepared to transmit to town meeting, this implements your cost of living adjustments associated with the operating budget. So I would ask that you approve these. They will appear as Article 4.
Any questions for Mitch? If none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the FY23 classification and compensation schedules.
And a second.
Second.
Roll call vote. If there's no further discussion. Selectwoman Wilkinson.
Aye.
Selectman Murphy.
Aye.
Selectman Loya.
Aye.
And Selectman Brackett votes aye. Motion carries. And next is ARPA Local Fiscal Recovery Fund, which I don't think we had any. Is that correct, Mitch?
That's correct, Mr. Chair. We do not have any requests before you this evening.
Alrighty. And then we have annual town meeting warrant articles, and I think Mitch will also take care of that.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have a list of draft items for you this evening. We're also joined by Moderator Visnick. I'm going to share the screen with the list of articles. Okay. Can you see the screen share?
Yep.
Okay. So this, as some of you are aware, the moderator and I had a conversation with the planning board. So you will not see any zoning articles on this meeting. We'll get to that shortly, but you will not see zoning articles here. So it did adjust. It did adjust what you see for articles. So it's fairly straightforward for most of these items. So we have our Roman numeral items, the current fiscal year items, the standard budget transfers, the transfer from the sped stabilization fund to the schools, and the transfer of free cash funds, free cash to the COVID-19 funds, a small amount this year that you've previously approved as part of the free cash distribution. And for fiscal 23, 1 through 6B are all of the standard articles. A through E are also all of the standard articles. Article F is the DPW facility, the supplemental financing and borrowing, the additional $5 million. G is the Long Beach Options Committee report. H is the non-binding citizen petition for Board of Selectmen term limits. I is the non-binding citizen petition for fluoride. J is the non-binding citizen petition as net zero resolution. K is the Long Beach FEMA study, what was previously referred to as Article X at the last meeting. And L is the standard ad hoc water committee report and reauthorization. So pretty straightforward set of articles in front of you this evening. And we'll touch on the zoning one separately, but this is what is in front of you this evening. So I'm happy to answer any questions. And I see the moderator is on the screen now as well.
Would you like to speak first before we get into questions from the board? I can't see him, so I'm not sure. Let me see.
Bob, are you with us? I can see you. I'm not sure.
Yes, I've been unmuted.
There we go.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody, and happy Mardi Gras, if that's how you term it. But there is a lot on the agenda. We anticipate some of those issues are going to take to resolve. And so the thought was that to try to also totally replace the zoning bylaws would just make this agenda too long and onerous. So Mitch and I discussed, and we brought in Jason Shaw, who agreed that it would make sense to have a special town meeting to just address the zoning bylaws. I've subsequently talked to the chair of the zoning board, who is getting a late start, I guess, on reviewing these articles and thinks that there's an awful lot to discuss, and thinks that extra time would be prudent to give the two boards, I guess, a chance to discuss these maybe together. I've suggested that they have a few joint meetings to discuss and go back and forth and take the time that's necessary to try to get this as right as we can the first go around. So the suggestion earlier, we were talking about trying to have that special meeting in May. And after talking this afternoon with Alan Bettis, he thought that June would make more sense. And I don't necessarily disagree with him in that regard.
So I got something from, oh, sorry. Can I say something, Russ? So, hi, Bob. Nice to see you.
Sarah.
I got something from Jason this afternoon. I think maybe it came to all of us, saying that the planning board was really hoping to do it in May. Because, they've spent months working really hard on this. May gives them an extra month. And to be perfectly honest, after May, it's like summer. I think we lose, you know what I mean? I think we kind of lose the attention of people. I think the planning board has taken the lead on it. I mean, I agree that if they could meet a couple times, but I don't know. I would love to take the planning board's lead since this is kind of their baby and I know how hard they've worked on all of it.
Yeah, I'm not taking a position in terms of why it's so late in the game that zoning is looking at it. I don't know if I know that they've met together maybe on one occasion a while ago, but I don't think that they've had the opportunity to meet together, and is or why that isn't. I don't really take a position as to when the special meeting will be, but I just wanted to present to you what I heard from the players. I know Jake have it in May and Alan was suggesting June. I don't know if there's some compromise that's sort of, later in May. I know I'm away the first weekend in May, and then I think the 13th and 14th, and there are town councils away. I'm not looking at, Mitch gave me a schedule today of who's where, and we came up with some tentative dates based on that. But later this afternoon, I talked to Alan, and I just wanted to relay his druthers.
Okay.
Got it.
Any questions from the board for either Mitch or Bob?
So we're having a difficult time scheduling a possible second meeting, correct? Is that a correct?
Which will come down to us essentially anyways. Selectmen will pick the date. And I
Right.
know that the planning board and the zoning board are going back and forth right now. But Jason Shaw had made a recommendation. Is that correct, Mitch?
So Bob and I did speak with him, and I know that looks like an email response back from him just before the meeting. He's expressed his thoughts again. I did also hear from Alan on what Bob said, but looks like Jason did express further thought. If I could just raise one point, if we could just bifurcate the discussion briefly on this, and if we could close out what's here for the annual.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And then jump to that one. I think the assumption is it's safe to say everybody is in agreement that a second separate meeting is needed.
Yes.
We just need to sort out when that is.
So I'll ask one question. Is that Article X is Carol Cook's motion? Is that the Long Beach FEMA one?
So it is putting that same article back on as was
All right.
requested.
I just wanted to bring attention to it for Toby so he sees it.
Yeah.
And I did previously share with Mr. Arsenian that I would be bringing this back to the board's attention.
Yeah. I think this looks fine and great that we're splitting the zoning. So I think this looks fine if we wanted to move ahead with this, unless other people have issues with it.
No, I'll just chime in. I mean, being close to the planning board's efforts to rewrite the zoning bylaws. It is a lot of effort that they put into it, and it is a lot to digest for anyone who is voting on it. So it is quite appropriate to have it as a separate meeting. I fully agree.
If there's no other questions for what you see on the screen right now, can we entertain a motion?
Who's got that?
I believe Selectman Loya does.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so I move that the Board of Selectmen place warrant articles currently labeled Roman numerals 1 through 3. I'll insert Arabic numerals 1 through 6, B, and A through L on the annual town warrant, and further that the town administrator be authorized to prepare a final warrant for approval and signature, that he be authorized to reorder the articles as necessary.
And do I have a second?
Second.
And any further discussion? Roll call vote. Selectwoman Wilkinson,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
Selectman Loya,
Aye.
and Selectman Brackett votes aye. Motion carries. You can have at it, Mitch.
Okay, so we'll have something prepared, and I would recommend to the board that we have, for those items, that we have an additional meeting next Tuesday to do a final vote on the warrant for the annual town meeting.
All right.
And Mr. Now, if you wanted to return back to the special meeting.
Yeah, we'll skip down to that and cover that right now, what's on everyone's mind.
Well, there is this list of dates, proposed dates. This was generated for us to use to make a decision, or just generated as possible dates that will be acted upon at a later date? How do I view this?
So this was generated this morning after speaking with town council to verify the dates they could be available. Spoke with the moderator about where he was with scheduling. So Bob, did you want to share your thoughts on scheduling
Did we get the list? How did we get
in the packet?
It's in the
Oh,
packet. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I'm actually scrolling through to get your list. If there's any way to put that on the screen, maybe that would be helpful.
Yep, hang on one second.
Bob, you look so youthful in that photo.
Oh, pshaw.
Oh, that's better.
Or not. So yeah, I can't find my version, Mitch, but I think that the weekend that I'm away in May is the weekend of the 21st. And then I guess the following weekend is Memorial Day. So
All
that
the dates are before that we have.
So what about, I think a second weekend, I think a second Saturday is like disastrous.
Yeah.
Like, I think I think we're really pushing it to ask people to give up a whole Saturday and bring anyway. So a second one to me is like, just not, I mean, I don't know. I would personally propose the 3rd, because then we could go into the 4th, because I honestly don't even know if one night would, you know what I mean, if we needed 2 nights.
And that may be the day after I return from an extensive road trip. I was thinking going to be a Monday, might be the 9th would work for me. I could conceivably do later in that week, Thursday or Friday, the 5th and 6th, but
The council is unavailable on the 9th.
we have time on the 10th.
The 10th is the election.
And we think that there'll be the term of the town clerk expires on the 11th. Is that the tradition, right, the next day?
Yes.
There'll be people there regardless of what happens.
Mhm. We could make we certainly could make the 11th work. Yes, just as you indicated, there will be a different clerk, but we could make the 11th work logistically otherwise.
And that's Thursday.
The 11th is Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
Day.
I think, yeah. So are
Right.
they open the 11th and 12th? Just because I think we should have 2 nights reserved in a row.
Indeed, yes.
Right, but not a Friday night, obviously.
Yeah. And certainly for me, the 16th and 17th work for me.
Anyone else have any input?
I think that if we do it during the week, I would like to do a Monday and Tuesday, if at all possible. I think you'd get a better attendance than towards the end of the week, but Monday and Tuesday, again, if possible, and I know everyone's schedules have to play into factor here.
I mean, the 16th and 17th are fine. As will be the 9th and 10th, but I don't think you want to have it on the day of the election. That's kind of
We can't have it on the day of the election.
We want to get this figured out tonight, correct, Mitch?
It would be helpful for us logistically to know tonight. If you needed to, you could make a final determination at your special meeting next week. We just need to start some of the logistical processes because this will determine how much time planning and zoning have. This will determine how much time council has.
I'm fine with May 11th and May 12th. Was that a Monday, Tuesday, or was that a
That's a Wednesday.
Wednesday, Thursday?
When's the election, Michigan?
The 10th.
Wow, that's a lot of, yeah, that's just a lot of work for the town clerks, for our office, the town clerk's office. I mean, because they have to pull off the election and then they have to pull off
After the election.
we at the school. Did you say this is the 17th not available?
No,
The
it is.
17th is, I just had a typo on that.
Because what about Monday, the 16th, and then with a, is that Labor Day, Memorial Day week?
No.
It's further down.
Oh, it's the next week?
2
So
weeks
maybe
from
that's
now.
our best option then, Monday, Tuesday, the 16th, 17th, gives us a little break after town meeting. I mean, after the election, right?
Yeah.
And it's a Monday, Tuesday.
I think that's good. I mean, you want to plan on that, Mitch, and then next meeting have a motion for it?
Sure, Bob, is that, you're on that day?
Yeah, that's fine for me.
I
That's
mean, the other
perfect.
thing is that
Unless-
that also respects the planning board wanting to keep it in May, right? But giving zoning board a little bit later in May. So that gives them a little over 2.5 months to prepare.
Yep.
Does that make sense, Bob?
Yeah, no, that makes total sense.
And it keeps us out of June and, people not paying attention to us.
I would just, putting my old school administrator's hat on, May 16th and 17th, programs begin and that time for the end of the year activity. So if we could get a hold of the schools tomorrow to make sure that everything is available.
Not to put you on the spot, Rob, I see you're on the call. Any
Ah.
insight?
Yeah, Mitch, I don't have a calendar that shows what events are going on then, but if we're talking, what was that date? May 16th, you said, Paul?
16 and 17.
Yeah, I think that's still pre-graduation activities. And I don't, for some reason, the 17th sounds like the event that Amy Rose holds at the Shaylin Lou, the Give Back event downtown. I believe is the 17th, so the 16th would be okay.
Well,
You'd have to check with Ingrid. You'd have to check with Ingrid in the morning.
Well, let's check those dates out and
Yeah.
then bring it to our next meeting.
Plan on that, Mitch, and then we'll have a finalized motion next meeting.
Okay,
Perfect. Thanks, Rob.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, Tom Meekus from the planning board has his hand up if you want to recognize him.
If he still has a comment in public comment, I'll let him speak then. Because I mean, we're not voting on it tonight, so he has time to speak when he at public comment. We'll move on to FY23 budget, and that will still be in with Mitch.
Good night,
Mr.
everybody.
Night,
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Yes.
So the finance committee at their meeting last week approved the operating and capital budgets. It was earlier than normal, which is actually tremendously helpful for us. It was about 2 weeks earlier than has been done in the past. That gives us a little bit of breathing room in preparing recommendations and getting the booklet ready, and very particularly positive for getting the finance committee report put together. So they are now working on their finance committee report, which we will mail out to all residents. So they're going to have that wrapped up by next week. We'll get that cleaned up and into the mail by the middle of March. So folks have a couple of weeks to read that before town meeting. And then we will get moving on the booklet. So it was very helpful that they were comfortable enough to take that vote and to finalize the budget last week. This board received the same materials that I shared with the finance committee which was basically a reallocation of the health insurance savings that the town recouped. We were holding pursuant to the directive of our consultant, 8.5% approximately for health insurance. And the number came in at 1.2%. So we basically took half of the savings and applied that further down on our list of items that we'd like to act on. We have not been able to, we did not get to all of them. We simply couldn't. And the other half, we have basically reserved. So a portion of it stayed in the health insurance account, and a portion moved into the finance committee reserve. So in essence, we saved approximately, we held approximately 46% of the differential in the health insurance. We held that back, assuming based on discussions with the finance committee, and one of the members in particular has a background in health insurance, that we will most likely see some significant rate increases next year, because part of the factoring for this year's rates relies on utilizing data from 2020, which, as everybody is aware, elective procedures stopped, and health insurance, healthcare was different in 2020 in a lot of ways. So very happy that we were able to make that presentation to them to make some adjustments in staffing. Again, we did not get all the way down the list as we had desired, and that will necessitate us to take a closer look at some of the budget areas that we could not get to, and make some further adjustments to see what we need to do to move forward. That I believe addresses everything I have for FY23 on the budget at the moment.
All right. Any questions for Mitch? I think that's a great health coverage. I think you guys said that last year though too, that we were going to get hit this year. So, but
we anticipated it, and one of the interesting parts of being in the Maya Health Insurance Trust through the MMA is that they have an ability to they recognize that the board of directors is made up of municipal leaders, so they're aware keenly of what impacts all of us. So the past 2 years, they issued premium holidays to try to offset some of the increases. So that was it's helpful for us to be part of that group at this particular time.
all right. And then COVID-19, I think that'll still be you, Mitch.
We continue to have very successful distribution on test kits. Again, thanks to Sarah and Ruth for the school distribution, and thanks to Ruth for facilitating at the vaccine clinic this weekend. Again, a good number of those were given out. We have been giving them out at the office on a daily basis. We reminded everybody again in the code red that went out yesterday. We are seeing probably 20 to 25 people a day come to the window to pick up tests, which is excellent. And with a reminder to everybody yesterday, if you got some at that Saturday event, you are still eligible to get more from us. Now it's been a couple of weeks. So we have plenty of tests at the moment. We'll continue to do the daily distribution of them through the selectman's office at town hall. And we'll look to have probably at least one more event in the near future for further distribution. And we'll continue to provide them through the vaccine clinics when that comes back up, and any other methods that we have available.
Mitch, do you know, or maybe this question is for Ruth, how long those kits are valid for? Is there an expiration date?
There is an expiration. It's July of this year.
Okay, so it's imperative that we get them out as quickly as we can.
Yes, they don't, they're not totally ineffective come that particular date in July, but it is important that we do move them, and we anticipate that we will.
Good. Okay.
Ruth, did you want to, any feedback on that either?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say all test kits, you have to look at them at your home to make sure, because they all have an expiration date and they're all different. So just try to keep moving your stock and recycling it, and keep the most current to be outdated up front and use them.
Mitch, I'm happy to talk to Rob and figure out some other dates I can do at the school too. Maybe before events, things, that might have a different crowd.
Sure.
Great.
Yep. All right. Anything, any updates from the board?
Nope.
No.
I don't think so.
We'll move on to the final public comment of the evening. If you have any comments, please raise your hands in your video or use the raise hand function. All right, we'll go to Tom Meekis first. Name and address for the record.
Yeah, Tom Mika, 73 Marmion Way. I wanted to comment on the special town meeting for zoning. I've been in communication with Jason Shaw during the deliberation, and he's fine with May 16 and 17.
Alrighty. Thank you. And we'll go to Toby Arsenian.
Thank you, Toby Arsenian, 95 Granite Street. I listened to your discussion on the parking. Perhaps there was some excuse for it, kindness of heart, necessity, hardship, when we were all suffering or perhaps suffering from the Wuhan flu. There's no possible excuse for it now. $20,000, which we've foregone, apparently, is real money. And that money that goes into the parking fund is what pays for police cruisers on an ongoing basis. And simply to dismiss $20,000 out of hand is unconscionable. And I'd remind you of what Don Campbell said when you were discussing the walkways across public property towards Long Beach, across the marsh, that in any case where we were disposing on a temporary basis of public property, that the town needed to be compensated. So it's simply, not right to be giving that away. And I would also question about the expense of having the DPW hoist all that, unsightly rubbish around. That's time and effort and also costs the town money. Thank you.
Thank you, Toby. Last call for public comment. Please raise your hand or use the raise hand function.
Oh, I had something, sorry.
Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry. I think this is like a pet peeve of mine. And honestly, I feel like I've gotten so many complaints, just the few inches of snow we got this past weekend. But we have to look into sidewalks and people not shoveling their sidewalks. And I know it's a bylaw, but I don't know if there are fines attached. I think we have to tackle it because
I believe there are fines attached.
in the last few days, I've seen, elderly people walking downtown and honestly, they're walking by houses and businesses that should be shoveled out. I know in Boston, if your property isn't shoveled out within a number of hours after a storm, you get a ticket. And, it just is what it is. But we have to deal with it because it's really, really dangerous.
I agree with Selectman Wilkinson. I think there was many years ago, people used to be shoveling everyone out and helping and so forth. I think that has changed as times have changed, but we still have a town made up of many elderly people, and I'm fast probably approaching that category as well. But I think we really need to make sure that we enforce this, and it is a bylaw. And maybe that's for a discussion down the road, but we need to do something about it because I've noticed it as well as Selectman Wilkinson.
On top of that, I'll say, even if it's just your sidewalk, please do the entrance of the crosswalk as well. It's disappointing to see a lot of the crosswalks now. I know the town will get to them eventually, but hopefully sometimes the residents or business owners can get to those as well.
Yeah, kids walking to school, people walking their dogs. And it's part of being a property owner. It's part of being a property owner.
I'll broach the topic with the police chief and the snow and ice foreman and the DPW directors.
Okay, great. And I know, Mitch, it was helpful. I know you've been putting it in the last couple code reds, which is helpful. But I think at this point, people see the nice, sidewalk plow shooter fancy thing, and they're like, oh, they'll get to us. But it's the principle of it, and it's about creating a safe space for people. This is a big walking town, so.
All right.
Thanks.
We'll be moving to executive session. If I have a motion for that, we do have one item tonight.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I move that the Board of Selectmen enter into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, AFSCME Local 1679, general and supervisors forming units, and MCOP Local 154 sergeants and patrol officers. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body and the chair so declares, votes may be taken. We will not reconvene in public session.
Do I have a second?
Okay.
Thank you. We are entering executive session because by not doing so, it would be detrimental to the town's negotiating position. The board will not reconvene in open session. Roll call vote. Selectwoman Wilkinson,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
Selectman Lawyer,
Aye.
and Selectman Brackett votes aye. Motion carries. We are entering executive session.
This time, the Board of Selectmen has entered executive session. We ask that you please exit the meeting at this time. The public portion of the meeting has ended.